Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, on this Thursday the 19th of November, 2020. Welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look at this story on Zero Hedge. Slovenia backs Hungary and Poland in the standoff with Brussels. Well, it was just Hungary and Poland in the standoff with Brussels is delaying the COVID-19 relief. Now, you know, in the United States, we've got the left and right, which can't find bipartisan support, and now they've delayed COVID relief, this next relief package of stimulus. They were planning on doing fiscal stimulus. The Republicans were planning on a skinny package of, I think it was 1 point something trillion, and the Democrats initially wanted like 3.2 trillion, and then they were trying to find some sort of arrangement in the middle of around 2.2 trillion, but it never passed. And now we're embroiled in this whole election debacle, and the whole thing is like on hold. Well, the same thing's going on over in Europe right now. This relief package for COVID-19 is the same sort of stimulus ideas, you know, but it's on hold too because, well, let's read a little bit. It says, after Hungary and Poland blocked the European Union's 900 billion COVID-19 recovery package, as well as the 7-year 1.8 trillion 2.1 budget over Brussels, it says a long-running dispute over dramatic norms, immigration, and the liberal tilt of Poland and Hungary caused the budget would strip Budapest and Warsaw billions of euros in EU funding if they don't impose certain measures to strengthen the rule of law as Brussels sees fit. Both Hungary and Poland are facing EU investigations over allegations they determine the independence of courts and the media. The push to bring both Hungary and Poland, which have defied Brussels' edicts on immigration and other issues, is being led by German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who is enjoying leadership of the EU alongside her chancellorship of Germany during her last year of power before retiring. Well, basically what this all amounts to is Hungary and Poland are not going along with the EU, and the EU can't move forward on getting this money out there. And now Slovenia is joined up with Hungary and Poland, so it's increasing this problem in Europe that's blocking the money. That's my point about all this. It's blocking the money. Well, the money's blocked in the United States too right now, and this stimulus that started back in March here of this year, it did a lot toward moving the stock market up. You guys got to admit, that 3.2 trillion stimulus package back in March did an awful lot toward moving the markets up. But it's the same thing over in Europe. They need stimulus too. The whole economy of the world right now can't run on its own. It's not just on life support. It's dead. And without these stimuluses coming in the form of monetary policy and fiscal policies, the world is going to collapse. It's basically down to that, right? It's either stimulus and print your money to infinity, or have the world collapse now at this point. And so everything can't move forward without the stimulus. Well, because we've reached the end of the peak of this last big stimulus that came in March, it'll only go so far. You know, I mean, it's like the pancake syrup, you know, it'll only go so far before you run out of pancake syrup. You got nothing on your pancakes. You know, and yeah, it went a long way, the stimulus, but now it's starting to run out. And we're seeing that's why the market's peaked. I called the market peak yesterday. You know, and what happens after the peak and the stimulus runs out if more stimulus isn't brought in? Well, the market's going to fall some more, and then investors are going to get nervous. It's going to start to fall really fast. You know, and this is the situation that we're in right now. All the world markets are pretty much peaked on stimulus, and it's all getting ready to start to slide down now. In this slide down, you could see, well, let's take a look at the silver price today. $23.89. It's down 42 cents. Now, I called this too on my other channel. I called that if they don't bring new stimulus measures in, and soon, the longer they wait, it's going to affect not only the stock market, but it'll affect the gold and silver prices. It'll affect the prices of cryptocurrency. It'll affect the price of oil. Ultimately, everything will start to slide down into a deflation. And deflation can, once it starts to get a toehold, then it takes even more money to stop it. Once it starts to really increase its power and intensity. So we're right on the edge right now, guys. We're right on the edge of this all starting to slide downhill. Unless more stimulus comes along. The basically, right now, the system's running on stimulus. Nothing but stimulus. There is no economy anymore. You know, and so what we're going to do is we're going to go through these pulses of stimulus and then contraction, and then stimulus again, and then contraction. So when we get to stimulus, well, you know, I'll explain it to you guys this way. I used to have a car in the old days, back when they had carburetors on them, you know, and the fuel pump went bad, and I was actually running the car's engine by pouring gasoline down the carburetor. Well, it's like this. This is how the engine runs when you're doing it that way. It won't idle. Fuel pump's busted. It won't idle. Now, the fuel pump, if it's running correctly, is like the economy when it's running correctly. It provides just the right amount, and everything runs smooth. You ever heard this saying now, they got now volatility, they call it? Oh, we got volatility. Well, the reason why is because it's running like the car used to run when you're trickle feeding the carburetor by hand. You know, you pour a little bunch of gas down the carburetor, and the engine goes up, right? And then as soon as you stop, it starts to go down and it's going to stall. It's an awful way to run a car, but that's how I had the car running when I was like testing it to learn what was trying to figure out everything that's wrong with the car, you know. And, I mean, I was only a younger guy back then, but I was running the car that way by pouring the gas directly down the carburetor because the fuel pump was busted. So the engine roars up. You pour the gas down, and then it goes to stall as soon as you stop. And then you have to pour more in, you know? And that's the way they're running the world right now. The economy's busted. The fuel pump's busted. Businesses are all closing and everything. It's broken. And they're running it just, I'll tell you. So we're getting these roar-ups. They pour down the stimulus, you know, like they poured the gasoline down the carburetor. And you get this roar up and heat up of the economy. It's like too much. The money hits the fan. But then it burns out real quick. And once it burns out, then you're left with a stock market that's hanging out over the air like Wile E. Coyote hanging over the cliff ready to fall. That's where we're at right now. Stock market's ready to fall because the stimulus is running out. They need to pour more down the chute. But the system now, to put the stimulus in, it's broken. It's broken in Europe. I just explained to you why. Because they can't agree, you know. And over here in the United States, it's broken too because they can't agree. So what'll happen is everything's getting ready to collapse. And when it collapses, the market's all collapsed and everything because the money's all drained out. They'll start selling off their GLD and their SLV. Well, we see silver down 41 cents. And I called it yesterday. This could pick up in intensity. And not just your GLD and your SLV, also cryptocurrencies too. Here's gold today. $18.62 today. It's down $8.60, but everything could start to fall now. And fall big, you know, and until more stimulus comes. But this is what'll happen, guys, and I guarantee it. This will force them into more stimulus, and it'll force them into bigger stimulus packages. the whole thing's going to blow up on them in the end, because you just can't run a car that way. I'll tell you what happened with the carburetor thing. I was pouring the gas down the carburetor, and I poured a little bit too much, and the car backfired. And it blew fire out all over the engine and everything else, and on the ground and everything else, and everything was on fire, you know. It's not the way to run an engine, and so a crisis occurred, and I had to go and grab the fire extinguisher and put everything out, you know, and then there was powder all over my engine and everything else, you know. And this is what's going to happen with them. The whole thing's going to blow up. But not just yet. I think they got one, maybe two more stimuluses in them before the hyperinflation comes. And the hyperinflation is the blow up. That's the blow up. That's because people lose confidence then at that point. They might have one more stimulus in before the thing blows up, or maybe two, or maybe even get three. I don't know. They're going to get a bit more stimulus in before people finally lose confidence. And each stimulus will probably be bigger. And this is the way it's been ever since 2008. The economy really died in 2008, and they've been on life support as a stimulus all the way till now. Monetary policy, and now they're into fiscal stimulus, which is a new phase. It has to be more and more and more. And in the end, it leads to the whole thing being destroyed, you know. And that's going to, ultimately, the hyperinflation is going to lead us into a new monetary system and some sort of a reset in the end. But it's going to be, that's going to be the real, that's going to be the real big thing. That's going to be what you really need to prep for, is the hyperinflation. What we're going through now, you know, is the precursors. This place where you run out of stimulus, you get a bit of deflation start to show up, then they pump in more stimulus. This is the precursor leading toward the hyperinflation. Very, very soon, probably in the next stimulus package we receive, we're going to go into what's called the acceleration phase. That's the initial period just before the hyperinflation. At what point do investors completely lose confidence in this game that they're playing? You know, it's coming. Cryptocurrencies today, you know, cryptocurrency's doing really good right now. 502 billion. Let me see. Refresh the page. $502.6 billion with a Bitcoin price at 17,867. Litecoin's been moving up through the ranks. It's past Bitcoin Cash and it's past Polkadot. They were ahead of Litecoin there just a little while ago, but now Litecoin's up to $80. You know, and it's in a high position right next to Chainlink. I can see Litecoin moving up to 1 and 2, Litecoin and Bitcoin ultimately in the end, you know, but it's going to take a little while, you know, and it's in a stronger position than it was. It's past some of these other coins here. It's $80 now, and you know, a little while ago you could have invested in Litecoin like $40, you know. But the thing is we got to watch out for this little bit of deflation that might come along, because they're not stimulusing anymore. The markets can all deflate very, very quickly, and you see these cryptos and stuff could go down, so could gold and silver during that period of deflation. Depends on how long. See, why this is so hard for me to predict is they could all turn around overnight. New stimulus could come out. And then my predictions would be, you know, because the new stimulus would drive everything up, you know, the markets up, cryptocurrency up and everything, gold and silver up. It would all go up if the new stimulus comes along. And I don't know exactly when they're going to come out with these new stimuluses. You know, this could change everything in my prediction. But if they keep holding off the stimulus off, I can see it all starting to collapse, and the price is starting to collapse in a lot of this stuff. You know, and we're going to have to watch that very carefully when they're going to be going into these new stimulus packages. And not only in the United States, but in almost every country is doing stimulus. Dow Jones Industrial Average today, it's off 114 points. Let me refresh. 112 points, 29,325. Now, I called the market peak in this. We're looking at the max chart right here. Okay, and I think that this is going to start to roll over and go down now. And I think if they don't put stimulus in there, we could go down at least as low as we were last time, down to about 19,143. We could actually break through that. We could go down to the 1800s, which will force them. They'll be forced to do the stimulus. Fiscal stimulus, and they'll probably do a bigger pack. They'll probably do the package when they finally do it. They're probably going to do the package they initially wanted of 3.2 trillion or more. Maybe they'll go for 4 trillion. Nobody cares anymore how much they do. People aren't looking so much at the numbers anymore, on these stimulus packages and everything. Okay, crude oil today, 41.46. I'm on the max chart here. Let's take a look at the 1 month. Well, they're keeping it around $40, so 3 months. It's a jagged line, but they're keeping it around $40. Okay, move index today, 43.62. And the move index is up just a little bit. Let's take a look at bonds and rates, and we're seeing falling yields today. Fallen substantially, too. We're looking at 1.56 on the U.S. 30-year, and we're looking at 0.84 on the U.S. 10-year. Now let's take a look at the U.S. dollar index. 92.47, and going along sideways today. Now let's take a look at our funny picture, and I'll tell you guys a story. It was from when I was a little kid. I was about 6 years old. And lived down in, no, I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old, and I lived down in Miami with my mother, My mother made friends with this woman. I can't remember what her name was, but she had this banyan tree in her backyard, great big banyan tree, and she had this monkey. It wasn't a real big monkey. It looked something like this, the monkey, but monkeys are awful, awful, awful strong. And she had a chain wrapped around the monkey so the monkey couldn't run away. And the monkey used to live in the banyan tree. And she'd come out every day, and she'd have a big pot full of mangoes and avocados and everything else to feed this monkey. So she'd feed the monkey. And anyway, one day, this little girl came along. And my mother was there and me, and there's this little girl. And that monkey come down, and he grabbed that little girl. And when the woman wasn't looking, and he grabbed that little girl, and he started to pull her up into the tree. And my mother, grabbed the whole little girl's legs, and the monkey had a hold of her arms. And you'd be amazed how strong that monkey was. The monkey had his legs wrapped around a branch, big heavy branch of the tree. And the monkey was pulling for all he was worth, and my mother was pulling for all she was worth, because she didn't want the monkey to take the little girl up into the tree. My mother was a bit heavier and stronger, a little bit stronger than the monkey. It was a lot heavier than the monkey. My mother was like an anchor. She's holding the little girl down. And the little girl's getting stretched. Finally, the monkey let go, and the little girl fell back into my mother's arms, And my mother never forgot that story, about how the monkey tried to pull the little girl up into the tree. Anyway, it's funny. But monkeys, this is why people you should think twice if you're going to have a monkey as a pet. Because monkeys, for their size, they're 7 times stronger for size than a person. 7 times stronger. So if you got a 20-pound monkey, you can times 7. And that's as strong as a human. It would be 7 times. So, like, chimpanzees are amazingly powerful. Really. And 7 times stronger. Weight for weight, So if you had a fight, if you were going to put in Arnold Schwarzenegger in with a chimp that only weighs 1/7 as much as him, it would be an equal fight. It'd be quite a small chimp. What, a 30-pound chimp or something, Anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye-bye.